All right, hi, this is DJ Lady Jock from Music My Way, and my big brother G.Wiz from Traveling at the Speed of Sound on 88.1 KDHX. And today we will be interviewing Mr. Phillip Ingram from the group Switch. How are you today, Mr. Phillip?
Excuse me, DJ Lady Jock. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
There you go. I gotta call you by your name, girl. Come on.
See, we on a great start already. I love it. I love it. Woo! First question is, where were you born and raised?
Well, from Akron, Ohio, all of us. It's actually 6 of us. You got it started with my brother Henry, then Joyce, then James, then Janice, then David, and then myself. I'm the youngest of 6, and we're all musically inclined.
Wow. So, home of LeBron James. Are you LeBron James
actually,
fan?
but you got to realize, before LeBron, and see, this is how it happened.
Okay.
And you can hear part of this, but Switch hit first, and I was the youngest. I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
Howard Hewitt hit with Shalimar. He's also from Akron.
Wow.
And Eddie Fluellen, who's also part of Switch, he's from Akron. But Howard Hewitt was next because we were all in local bands growing up. And then it was my brother James. So that was years before LeBron. Now, what's interesting, I don't remember her, but a buddy of mine, another singer friend named Kevin Dorsey, he said we went to school with LeBron's mom. So, but I don't remember. She was like a grade or 2 behind us.
Wow.
So LeBron was definitely, from Akron, but honey, we were first. But go ahead. No, go ahead.
I love it. I love it. It's all right with me. So were you and your brother James, and rest in peace to James, the only members of your family that choose the music entertainment industry?
Like I said, even though all of us were musically inclined, my brother Henry, phenomenal on piano and everything. But James, he was the first one got into a band when he was 14 years old. I love the name of this group, R.I.P and the G-Clefs. That was the name of the band he got. And James was playing guitar at the time. So he was 14, I was 8, and he used to take me on rehearsals. And I was like, oh man, I'm loving this. Because my brother David, he wanted to do sports, but he could play the bass and he could sing, but he was a sports guy. So James got into these bands. He's the one that got my interest. So I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna do this. So when I was 14, he was 20. He was with this band called Revelation Funk. Love those local names, don't you? And I saw them perform. And I'm like, man, they stupid. So they were so good. And anyway, James left, came to California, and then then I ended up I was just getting into my first band. So that's how that happened. But yeah, James and I are only 2 that decided to make a living out of it. And because when Switch was happening, nobody knew James. But in my interviews, I would tell, they said, who's your inspiration to the music industry? I said, actually, my brother James. Nobody knew him. I told that story about he used to take me on his rehearsals and stuff. What's interesting, James was never the out front singer in the bands he was in. He played keyboards and he sang, so he would sing a song from the piano, but they had an out front singer. And so when Switch was touring, I remember I had a new car and I had James keep while I was going. When I came back from one of the tours, James said, hey man, I want to play you something. So he plays me Just Once. I'm like, dang man, you over. I knew that he had been working with Quincy, and I heard that song. And but this was funny. James said, Quincy wants me to go to Japan with him and be his out front singer. And we both started laughing because James didn't have any experience of being out front. So if you could look back at some old TV shows when Just Once came out, James would always start from the piano. He I kind of got transitioned. Then he would get up and sing verse 2, but he learned how to be out front. But all those years, he had never been out front. James, when he went to California, obviously he was hustling, nothing had happened. And my father, he was one, he worked for Ford Motor Company. My parents weren't musical at all. So this was all new to them. And so they pushed education so much so that my oldest brother, Henry, he has a, not bachelor's, what's the doctorate's degree in,
Doctor.
he was a speech and hearing therapist. My sister Joyce, same thing with sociology and stuff. But, you know, then James, he was doing music. So when I approached him about coming to California, you know, and this is what became Switch. I was nervous. So I went to my mom first. She said, no, you got to talk to your father. I'm like, Mom, can't you just talk to him? So, because, you know, nothing happened with James yet. But some of the guys from, you know, part of Switch, Jody Sims, Gray Williams, and Bobby DeBarge had been part of a group called the TNT Flashers that had went to California. And Barry White saw them and signed them and changed the name to White Heat. So I had their album. So I already knew that they at least had a deal, even though the album didn't do that well. But I was like, okay, they got some connections. So that's how I kind of presented it to my father. I went back, but my father said, he says, you know what? He said, I don't want to hold you if this band makes it and I allowed you not to go. He said, I know you would resent that. And he says, I don't want to have that type of relationship with you. That's always touched me. So wow. I have to say that they did not disapprove. They encouraged us, and then he even ended it with this. He said, if it doesn't work out, you got a home to come back to. When my father said that, I'm like, I love y'all. I'm going to California. And obviously it worked out. So
awesome. So what was it like being signed by one of the biggest record labels in the world, Motown, Gordy?
Yeah, and here I'm gonna tell you why it was actually good. It was the way we walked in. And what I mean by that is, do you guys know the story of how Switch got found? Do you know that story?
In the elevator?
Yeah. So here's what happened.
I want to hear this.
Yeah. What happened was Greg and Jody Sims, when we did our demo, we did like 8 songs. We got together in December of '76. And this is what's interesting. We had, you know, they were with White Heat. Eddie Fluell and I was with another band, like I said, a little local band. And the way I met them, White Heat had come back to, because some of the guys were from Ohio and some of the guys were from Michigan. So they ended up in Akron, just kind of like a little base, you know, close to Michigan and close to Steubenville, Ohio, where Jody was from. And so our band started doing shows with them. I met them when I was 16 years old. We started hanging out. And then basically Greg felt that, you know, White Heat had done basically all they could do. You know, some of the guys were older and stuff. So he approached me October '76. We got together December '76, but we had never been a band, you know, as a unit, because I was with Rawso and he was with White Heat. So it was Greg, Tommy DeBarge, Jody Sims, myself, Eddie Fluell, and a guy named Arnie Haynes. He had the, you know, like the high voice and I had the lower voice. And at the time, you know, Bobby, sad to say, he had been struggling with some drug issues. And so so now we do this demo in about 2 weeks. We did about 8 songs. Greg and Jody fly to California, and there was a guy working with us that basically put up some money for us to go in the studio. And they were in the Motown building, not to shop a deal, but one of the attorneys that worked with them with White Heat on RCA Records, he had an office in the Motown building. They were there to visit him. And so once they left that meeting with, his name was Curtis Shaw, they were coming down on the elevator, and on the 18th floor was part of the Motown building. Jermaine Jackson from the Jackson 5 walks onto the elevator. And you know how, I'm gonna say it, you know how Black folks be, oh man, that's Jermaine Jackson, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, you might start humming to see, people do that to me, they start humming, kind of like, so, oh, you sang, you know. But Jermaine didn't respond. So anyway, he got off on the 5th floor, they go down, and then Jody's like, they say, oh man, we should have gave him the tape. They only had 1 tape left, cassette tape. So they run back up, and you know how it is now, you're trying to push the elevator door. It opens up, they go back on the 5th floor. Jermaine at the time lived in Thousand Oaks, which is probably about a 40-minute drive from the Motown building. And he was in his car looking for something to play on the way home. And so he just saw these guys in the elevator. So he was kind enough. He rolled down the window and says, you know, can I help you? And they said, yeah, we just want you to listen to our tape. He said, okay, I'll listen to it on the way home. No expectations, but had a number on it. And this is what blew us away. The next day, Jermaine Jr. was being born. He was in the hospital with Hazel Gordy. And he played the tape and he said, so what's happening with you guys? Reagan was like, we're not signed. We want to deal. He says, are you kidding me? So he had them come up to the hospital, you know, and while Jermaine Jr. was being born. And we didn't believe him. Like, you know, have we met Jermaine Jackson? Yeah, you ain't met no, come on. You know, we went through that whole thing. Saying all that to say, you got to remember at the time, Jermaine Jackson was married to Hazel Gordy, which was Berry Gordy's daughter. Mm-hmm. He walked in through the front door. You know what I mean? We didn't go through an A&R rep, and that's what made it so nice. So much so that when we got together, here's the sad part, Arnie Haynes decided not to come. And we were in a predicament because him and I were the main lead singers. And so right before we come to California, Greg said, Arnie's not coming. We're like, are you kidding me? We got this deal pending with Motown. So then he said, Bobby DeBarge, he said he's clean right now and he wants to make a go at it. What you guys think? We're like, I mean, talent, of course, but if, you know, the drug thing, we were like, no, but if he's clean, yeah. So he ends up flying out. When we did our little presentation, you know, Jermaine was hanging out with us. He said, you guys got the deal. He said, but nobody's seen you but me. They just going off of me. So we had this meeting with Berry Gordy, Suzanne DePass, Tony Jones. There was some songwriters, producers, and we did our showcase. And they were blown away, so much so that Suzanne DePass, we really didn't have a name. That's why I'm gonna get to that hot ice thing that you sent me, but we didn't have a name. And Suzanne DePass said, oh, let me tell you how it went. So let's say Bobby was out front singing. I was on the keyboards, singing background. Greg and Eddie were on the horns. You follow me? Mm-hmm. And I would go out front and sing a lead. Bobby would get on the keyboards. And then Bobby and I would go out and do a duet. Greg and Eddie would now go to the keyboards and put the horns down. And then there was a song that was on our first album called Somebody's Watching You. And Jody came out and Bobby was on the drums. So in essence, you know, Tommy playing and singing. Suzanne DePass says, I've never seen so much switching in my life. And that's how the name, that's why you're seeing, you're seeing us with different instruments on that first album. So we could all sing like a singing group. We all played multiple instruments and that's how the name came about. So it was good from that standpoint because we walked in through the front door with, you know, Jermaine Jackson and Hazel Gordy. So it was nice.
So I appreciate you. And I'm going to let Big Brother Wiz answer the rest of the questions. And we're going to go from there. But I appreciate this. This was great.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes.
You see how she just cheated? She just cheated.
How did she cheat?
She did like 3 questions. She leave me with all the rest.
Okay. That's right. I showed the album, so that was good enough.
All right. Okay. All of that information is fascinating. I mean, I love to hear stories about artists and the background. You know, we always hear the music. I like hearing the inside scoop on things, on what really made the group taste good. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And what you was just saying, that to me, that was like, I was like a little kid sitting on the, you know, on the stoop, listening, waiting for more. You know, I love that. So again, we do thank you for taking the time out to do this interview with us.
Yes, sir.
So I want to
know. Not a problem.
With the success of Switch's first album going platinum with classics such as There'll Never Be and I Want to Be Closer, did the pressure of making the next album and future albums change the personality of the group members?
Not so much the first album because it was still all new to us, a lot of excitement. And, you know, especially, you know, Jermaine and Hazel, they were still working very closely with us. And so was Barry and was coaching with us. I mean, and so when we did our second album, you know, with the success of I Call Your Name, that's when even my brother James, who was not signed yet, you know, he was very proud of his little brother and things that was happening. But that's when you start seeing some personality change, because, you know, they say that the worst thing about success is a little bit, you know what I mean? And so, and I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, very happy, platinum album, great, you know, gold album, great. But come on, at the time, Earth, Wind and Fire, they were doing multi-platinum. And I was a guy like, okay, man, we gotta, I think it's great, but you know, Earth, Wind and Fire just did, you a shining star. I mean, come on, you know, they doing multi-platinum. And so I wanted to hit that type of stats, you know, and be, anyway. So yeah, personalities start changing more so after the second album, not so much after the first, because Switch, you know, it was just, they were comparing us like to the Black Beatles and all that stuff. And the fact that, you know, we sounded like a singing group and we were a band. It was, and so much so, now you notice DJ Lady Jock, when she showed the album covers, the first two, notice had our pictures on it, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Album 1 and album 2. And, you know, girls were buying the albums just from the pictures. Then it's like they heard We Can Sing Too. You know what I mean? But you notice on the third album, it's just the world. The logo has changed. There's no pictures. So here's the story behind that. Exactly. That's the one. Here's the story behind that. When we were, put it like this, our meetings were at Berry Gordy's home. That's how where our meetings was. That's how much they were into us. There's a song on that album called Power to Dance. A lot of energy, everything. I just want to tell you, I mean, we still open our show with that. But Berry Gordy said he thinks it's a #1 record, but he didn't feel that the lyrics was as strong as the melody, the energy, and the groove. So he said, I think, you know, the lyrics need to be changed. We actually talked about this on Unsung. And I was 20 years old at the time. I still remember Bobby DeBarge told Berry Gordy, he said, I think the lyrics are fine. Yeah, we sitting at his house. I mean, stupid ain't illegal, but anyway, we sitting at his house, and I remember putting my head down like, are you kidding me? So yeah, that's when the shift changed. And so to me, I think Motown sent us a message, because you notice it wasn't until that fourth album, so we lost some momentum, that the Pictures was back on. We had another hit with Love Over and Over Again. But I mean, to me, that album, you know, Don't Take My Love Away, it was the first single. It didn't do as well, but Motown had kind of pulled back. You had My Friend in the Sky, had some good stuff on there.
Yeah.
But it didn't really, you know, and so we had to, it's like we lost momentum, and then we came back with, you know, Love Over and Over Again on the fourth album. But that's why there's no picture there. The logo looks different, but you notice on, some people only think we have 3 albums, but we had 5.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yes, it changed on the third, but not on the first 2.
Well, I have 4.
We were still a group. We were still a group.
Fine, okay.
What's called Switch 5. You can see it right here. See it right there. That's Switch 5.
Okay.
There was a hit called Call on Me from that.
So when you decided to step away from the group to do solo projects, did the group object, or were they supportive?
They hated to see me leave. And I'm gonna tell you the reason I ended up leaving. You know, after our 5th album, Motown was letting us go. And I'm like, cool, let's go to another record company. I mean, you know, they ain't the only game in town. You know, you already got a name and everything. But we had a band meeting at this time. Bobby had left. You know, his brothers, DeBarges, had just done an album, but it wasn't a success. And then they did this next album. That's where All This Love came out. And people were getting DeBarges mixed up with Switched at the time, because, you know, Elle and Bobby sound a lot alike. And so the band wanted to get Bobby and Tommy back into the group and go to another record company. I was like, man, I'm sorry. I you know, I love them, but I couldn't do it. So I believed in myself enough. And that's when I said, y'all can do it, but I can't do it. You know, I love them, but I needed to step away. So they hated to see me go, but they ended up getting a record deal with Total Experience. And it was Greg, Jody, and Eddie, and some other people. And they had, you know, a little semi-hit called Am I Still Your Boyfriend? At the time, James had just got with Quincy. So I ended up doing the Dude Tour, singing background. on that tour, Just Once, all of that. So when I met Quincy, I started doing a whole bunch of stuff. A guy named Ed Eckstein, Billy Eckstein's son, was running Quest Records along with Quincy. And Ed started turning me on to a bunch of stuff. I started doing a bunch of commercials. He started recommending me. And then I called it the Q Connection. And from there, man, I ended up doing movies. I did more stuff outside of Switch than I did with Switch. Seriously.
Wow.
I ended up becoming like a session singer. Probably some of the biggest hits of the 80s and 90s. I'm singing background on tons of them. Some is me and my brother James and Phil Perry, we're singing together, or me and my brother James and Howard Hewitt, or me and some other session singers, like I mentioned Kevin Dorsey.
So it wasn't hard for you getting work when you made that switch.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
No, you know why? Honestly, I'm gonna tell you why. I never got that, I had great parents as far as in the sense of, I'm not gonna get no big head, It's like talent is like a dime a dozen. Some people's careers is only, a little short time. I didn't let a hit record define me. That's the best way I can explain it. I remember I used to play basketball, before Switch got a hit, and they knew me as Phillip Ingram. Then, They'll Never Be came out, and I'd still go play basketball, and people would be like, "Oh man, that's Phillip Ingram Switch." I'm like, no. I'm Phillip Ingram. Switch is just a band I'm with. You know what I mean? Because it's like, no, I couldn't let that define me. So I believed in Phillip Ingram enough to know that I'm gonna be fine. And I've been fine. I mean, literally, I've been doing stuff since I was 14 years old. My first band, pretty much done music. And 18, Switch got signed, 18 to 23. From 23 to now, now, and I'm, we doing shows prior to the pandemic, obviously, but yeah, I've done a lot outside of Switch. Matter of fact, I get everybody with this. Did you know I sang on The Little Mermaid? Everybody that gets everybody. I sang on Kiss the Girl, Under the Sea, and the first song on the movie, that Mysterious Fathoms Below, singing background. But here's what was funny. I learned a lot doing that movie. They asked me to do some ad libs, and I'm like, y'all want me to do some ad libs on this cartoon? And I learned when you do an ad lib on a cartoon, because it was 4 of us, that's group. But when you do that, what they call a step out, you get like a solo scale. And with residuals, so I was like, after Little Mermaid, I said, I'm gonna shut up when they ask me to do some ad libs. Okay, what do you want me to do? So if you listen to Kiss the Girl, you'll hear all these little soulful ad libs when we're going, why don't you kiss the, and you'll hear, go and kiss the girl, go and kiss the girl. All this little soulful stuff on this cartoon. So that started, can you do that? Yeah. Wow. So it's been a lot of stuff. But yeah, honestly, they supported, and we stayed in touch and everything. And then we got back together in 2003. And I told Greg, I said, I'm fine as long as, we're cool. Now we're all older, we don't have to deal with Motown, and we just, just have fun doing the stuff. And we all doing different stuff now.
And you taught in college.
Say what?
You taught in college. Did vocal lessons at
yeah. I taught, yeah. What happened, Wayne Henderson, Crusaders, trombonist.
Yeah.
Wayne, I did a lot of work with Wayne in the 80s. Like I said, I did a lot of stuff because there's stuff where I've done where I've written songs, stuff where I'm singing backgrounds. I did a bunch of guest vocals, but Wayne found out I played piano. I'm like, dang, Wayne, you remember Switch? So there was a time where he was producing a lot of people, and I was doing, pretty much, there was a guy named Dwight Seals. If you ever hear that album, there's this one song called Our First Sunrise Together. And it's me playing everything. There's no background vocals, and Dwight playing the guitar. And people don't know that side of me. They hear that, and like, when you read it, it says Phillip Ingram keyboards and stuff. They're like, what? I'm like, honey, Switch was a band. You know what I mean? Because I'm known as a singer. But Wayne, basically, he got California College of Music. He had become like the musical director at this college and was trying to turn this college around. It was a Japanese owner, Michelle, and her husband, Brian Ishii. And they had, students literally from all around the world. And so Wayne kept asking me, man, come on, man, I need you to come over and do some vocals. And So finally I just, wait, no, I'm not teaching no vocals. I said, Phillip, just teach what you know. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay. And so I ended up doing it for 3 years. But Wayne had a lot of people over there. And so at first it was nice. And then Wayne left. I'm like, wait a minute, man. You left, you get me over here, then you leave? Man, come on, right? So, but I had so many students and we had so much fun. A lot of them I'm still in touch with because I also work with Sheena Easton, and whenever we go to Japan, I always reach out to them and they come to the shows and stuff, we hang out. But yeah, I had quite a few students for some time, and they still like, are you giving any more lessons? You know, because I taught an a cappella ensemble and private lessons. And I did for a while, but it just got busy. And one day I may pick it back up, but I would have to do it, you know, online. But yeah, did it for 3 years. Had a lot of fun. The thing I would do, let me just say this. I would tell them there's a difference in a classroom setting. And so if I had any sessions, I would invite them on the sessions. And if Switch had any shows coming up, I had them come down to rehearsals because every element was different. And if there was a show that was near, you know what I mean? Like one time I did a show with Sheena Easton and Torrance. They allowed them, the college, to get like some discounted tickets. So about 20 of them came. But they got to see, not just sitting in a classroom talking, they got to see, okay, now I'm in the studio, you know, now we're at rehearsal, now I'm doing live. They got to see everything that I was telling them, and they loved it because, you know, it wasn't just some theory, you know, and they loved it. So, you know, got to meet a lot of people and like, you know, some big name people and stuff. So see, here's another quick backstory. Michael McDonald is the one who told Sheena about me. Because I, you know, when James did Yama Be There with Michael, I did, you know, I met Michael, I did Solid Gold with him. I'm playing bass and singing background. And then me and Michael started doing a whole bunch of stuff together. So he's the one that introduced me to Sheena. I didn't know that when I got the call. She said, yeah, she loved my brother. And then she said, Michael said, you need to hear Phillip. And that's how we met. So when I first met her, guitar player asked me, could I do some, it was just, I thought it was gonna be one show in Malaysia, or actually two. And so then she said, no, I'd like you to be, you know, and I said, well, I can't do everything. And she says, okay, I'll take what I can get. I said, okay, you said that. So I met her in 2005 and we've been working together ever since, you know, and sometimes I can't make it, you know what I mean? Because I already got other obligations, but we have a lot of fun. But yeah, when we do We've Got Tonight, that's become definitely like a crowd favorite. Because I told her when I first met her, I said, honey, I ain't gonna be doing no Kenny Rogers. She said, Phillip, you can do whatever you want to. I said, okay, just letting you know, girl. And so we have a lot of fun.
Interesting you mentioned Sheena Easton, because Sheena Easton got a nickname for you, don't she?
Funky Phil? Is that what you're talking about?
The nickname she gave you after your incident in 2019.
Oh, Phillip 2.0.
Yes.
That's funny. That is so funny. Yes. For those of you that don't know, basically in what was it? Yeah, that was briefly. We were in Santiago, Chile. We had done the Philippines. We had done Singapore with Sheena, and you know, long story short, I was feeling fine, and then came home. And then September 14th, September 14th, Switch had a show in Atlanta. So September 13th, flew down to Atlanta, was fine. Woke up next morning, had breakfast. And after that, I felt weird. I called Greg. I said, man, I don't know what's going on, but I'm not gonna be able to perform. Anyway, went to urgent care. They said, with your symptoms, you know, black man over 50, you need to go to the ER. And I'm like, really? Found out I was having a heart attack. I had no idea because I didn't have no chest pains or anything like that. So, anyway, you know, they went through the wrist, like they're talking about going through the wrist, through the groin. I'm like, well, we're going to go through the wrist, right? So, you know, so anyway, the doctor asked me, he said, when is your next show? I said, it's October 11th in New York. And he said, you'll be fine if you listen to what I say. I said, really? Because this was like, you know, September 14th, 15th, less than a month away. He said, I said, I'm gonna listen to what you say because, you know, you do this, I sing. And so my next show was with Sheena in New York. And that was the first time the band had, you know, seen me, they were all worried and everything. And so, yeah, when I got done, it was interesting because I had one stent that was 100% blocked. And I'm sorry, one artery that was 100% when I was 80. So then, you know, they stented them both. So it opened up. And my wife didn't go with me, but she was curious to see how it went. I said, it was weird. I said, I mean, singing has never been in any effort, but it was like really no effort. That's why she called me. She's like, dang, what are you, like Phillip 2.0 now? That's where that name came up. And a buddy of mine explained it to me. Because, you know, if your arteries are closing, they're closing slowly, you know, over the years, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when it gets closed, but that becomes your normal as it closes. Then it went from here to open. You got all this airflow, more oxygen. So yeah, and so I ended up doing literally from the heart attack, September 14th, 2019. I did 10 shows with Sheena from October through December, and then switched, did a show in California in January 2019. Then I did a background session for this Latin artist named Pepe Aguilar, and then pandemic happened. But yeah, so that's where she got.
Wow.
Yeah, she called me Phillip 2.0 because she was like, wow. Yeah, we have a lot of fun. We do about 4 duets together. So so next time in St. Louis, I have to give y'all some tickets.
Yeah, we was actually at the last time you was here.
With Switch or with Sheena?
That War.
Oh yeah, Ward. Oh yeah. Oh man, when it was 5,000 degrees on stage.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, we was there.
Oh, cool. Well, you know what? Then you can see I dropped the weight. Because
I didn't know who you was. I'm like, who is this young dude? This must be his son.
Funny. Yeah, because what happened, what was it? No, the doctor said, you know, now comes the hard part. You need to drop your weight, you know, exercise and, you know, take your meds. I'm like, done. And that's, I said, you do this for a living. I'm like, you talking about my life? I'm done. So from September 14th to now, I've dropped 60 pounds. I'm back to my switch weight without the long hair.
Wow.
That's why everybody say I look a whole lot younger, but
so now you need to go to a hair doctor, right?
Yeah, like remember that show? I'm one of the yeah, what was it? What was his line? He said, I'm a client myself or something like that. Yeah. That's funny. But yeah, man, you know what? That I never forget that show because I remember at sound check, I was like, why is this so, and please, with no disrespect, but I'm like, why was this so hard? Because, you know, War was the headliners. Okay. But they set up, you know, War doesn't have an out front, you know, person. You know, I love War, but they're all group stuff, you know, long day, right? Cisco Kid. So you have no out front guy. Me and Akili needed to be out front. So we had to rearrange our setup. And because it was getting late and it was hot, I mean, I was sweating like Porky Pig's mama's mama. It was so hot up there. And so I said, you know what?
Their weight on
yeah, right. Exactly. The sauna of St. Louis. I asked one of the keyboard players for War. I said, forget my setup. Can I get just 2 sounds? You know, can you just show me? And so I won't mess out if I can play your setting. You know what I mean? And I'll go out front when I need to. And so I said, I just need like a Rhodes sound and like a horn sound. And he's like, yeah. I said, cool. Because I mean, it was just taking forever. And then I don't know if you remember, even during the show, I think Akili asked the audience, because I kept hearing them, they kept doing like this. And I was like, y'all got to talk to the guy out there. We ain't got nothing to do with that.
Right.
So yeah, I remember that show really well. I'm like, the sound check is where but it was like, it was just, they were behind. It was, it was like, it was a mess. And then the show got to start. I'm like, you get here, you tell us to be here at a certain time, we hear nothing's happening, and then you're gonna rush us. Yeah.
That's why we was on time, Lady Jock.
No, actually no, because you know what? It's the whoever promotes the show.
Yeah.
It's the help that they have.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, we did this show one time with this group. I mean, all I remember, they were called FAT, like PHATT Productions. It was us and Lenny Williams. Everything was like, wow. I went over and commended them. I said, man, let me tell you. And, you know, I've done some huge shows, you know, like with Quincy Jones, like I said, I've done with a whole lot of people. And I mean, let's face it, the caliber is different. I didn't run into that stuff doing those type of shows, but sometimes on the, you know, on these type of shows you do, but it doesn't have to be that way. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I remember St. Louis, you know, because we had to work with War's setup, you know what I mean? Because, you know, we got 4 keyboard players in the band. We got Eddie, myself, you know, Greg, and at the time, Michael Norfleet was with us. So Tafir played, you know, War's drums, and then and they had no monitors out front. All the monitors were backed by the keyboards because they're doing this. We need monitors out front so we can hear our vocals. You know, we're doing I Want to Be Closer. You know, those 4-part harmony. And I'm like, I can't just have a monitor back. So it was that stuff. But yeah, we made it work, you know, but.
Yes. And it was good seeing Switch.
Oh, thank you.
All them years.
But I wish you could have saw us with a proper sound check. And because you remember we even stopped for a minute and just did a piece on the piano and just sang just a couple of things, like a little medley, because it was like the sound was not that great.
And with that, I'm gonna ask you this.
Name?
I would tell you one name, one artist name that you've worked with, and you give a sentence.
Okay, go ahead. Give me some names.
Okay.
You want the good, the bad, the ugly, right?
Whatever you feel.
Okay.
Whatever you feel. I'm just gonna hit you with them, and you hit me back. Donnie Osmond.
Great. Let me tell you, wow. Donnie Osmond was with Wayne Henderson. Wayne was doing the song his son Randy and I wrote. It was a LA street scene. They used to have that every single year. And it was the 8th. And so it was like LA street scene. Okay. Perfect example. That's me playing that stuff. So and what happened was, you know, James and them had just done We Are the World. That was like a huge hit that Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson had written together. And they had all these hosts of stars. So Wayne had worked with Frida Payne and Sherry, you know, and so Donnie, that's where we actually met. And Donnie was great. He was a really good and very soulful. So you heard that record where he's I'm just feeling music in the air. I'm like, man.
Because Donnie always had his own type of little soul.
Yeah.
You know, and we got that with One Bad Apple, but you know,
exactly, yeah.
We thought it was Michael Jackson.
Exactly. He was real appreciative of my talent. So yeah, Donnie was a lot of fun. Man, you bringing back some memories. I forgot.
Okay.
Because people be asking me who you work with. It's been so many that I'm like, you know, I have to like go back and write some of this stuff down.
I like this game.
They don't do research like we do.
That's good. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So you also had the pleasure of working with some other legendary people. One of the Supremes, which is Sherry Payne and her sister, Frida.
Right.
So how exactly was them two sisters?
Well, again, remember we did, like I said, we did that LA street scene together, me and Sherry and Frida and Donnie. It was us on that. But what happened, Sherry had got signed to this record company that Wayne Henderson was a part of called Superstar International. And they, I had just left Switch. Sherry and I are still friends today, matter of fact, and Frida. When Switch got the HAL Awards, which stands for Heroes and Legends Awards, that's a Motown thing. Frida and them was there, and Sherry, and we've done sessions together over the years. But Sherry, they end up doing a duet with her and I. It was a song that a buddy of mine named Ken Curry and I wrote together called On and On, and it was her first single. And you know, I just come off a Switch, and she was with the Supremes, so we did this duet. Then did another song called Incredible that I wrote, and but yeah, that's Sherry's great. We still stay in touch. We still see each other from time to time. And Frida, you know, yeah, we've been friends. So you talking, that's probably 85?
Yeah.
Yeah, 85, 86. I've known them since then, and yeah, it's been great to work with.
Teena Marie.
Oh yeah, Teena and I, she was one of the first artists we met. Switch, Teena, Rick James, and High Energy. I don't know if you remember the group High Energy. Yeah. We all got signed around the same time. So all of us were close friends, but Teena and I were really good friends. I'm gonna share this one story with you. this was interesting. You know, she used to play me stuff, and you know, sometimes we'd be in the same studio. So we was in this one studio, Switch was doing a record, and she was doing a record. Matter of fact, you can look on the internet, you'll find some pictures of me and her, like I'm playing the piano and she's singing. And anyway, it was an Irons in the Fire album, and she plays, and I'm like, dang girl, this is stupid. You know, she's playing it for me in the car in the parking lot. And then she starts crying. And I'm like, I said, girl, what's going on? And she said, in essence, she said, basically Motown said they thought it was garbage. And I looked at her and I said, are you kidding me? She said, no. And she was so broken. And I looked at her. I mean, even back then, I said, girl, I love being part of Motown, but don't let anybody, I don't care who they are. I don't care if it's Bear, I don't care if it's mom, I don't care anybody. Don't let them strip you of your dignity. But at that moment, that's why we were friends. Even so much so that even after, you know, I left Motown and stuff, I still did stuff with her on her records. I mean, we were great. We had a lot of fun. See, everybody you picked so far have been great. Notice I said so far.
Okay, I'm trying to figure this one out. How did you end up working with the Fifth Dimension?
The Fifth, that was simple. What happened was Ollie Brown, are you familiar with Ollie E. Brown? You know, drummer, producer and stuff, you know, did a lot of stuff. I mean, Stevie's drummer for years.
Yeah.
Well, Ollie was doing, Dick Clark had this label and was doing a bunch of, you know, artists and stuff. By this time, Billy Davis and Marilyn McCoo had left. Marilyn was doing Solid Gold. So Ron Townsend was still there, and the other two. So he had 3 originals and 2 others. But what happened, remember I told you 80s and 90s, I was working with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Ollie was one of the producers, because, you know, I mean, Ollie is playing on I Want to Be Closer. He's the drummer on I Want to Be Closer. So again, we go back to, you know, 1978, 77, I'm sorry, when Switch got signed. And he played on some other stuff as well. But anyway, he was producing them, and I was doing all of the background arrangements and everything for Ollie, and, you know, some other arrangements. So that's how that came through Ollie Brown. So I did some background arrangements for the record that Ollie produced on the Fifth Dimension. Yeah, I did a lot of artists with him. And Ollie and I, you know, again, still friends today. We did a lot of stuff together. Every time you have a project, Phillip, you available? I'm like, come on, man. You wait a minute, you gonna pay me? Yeah, I'm available. I'll make the time, you know. So that's how I got with the Fifth Dimension.
Okay.
Did you know I worked with Willie Nelson?
Wow. No, I didn't know Willie.
Did you know I worked with Bruce Willis?
No, but I know you work with Boz Scaggs.
Yeah, Boz Scaggs. Yeah, I'll come back to Boz Scaggs.
Okay.
Bruce Willis had this group years ago called Bruno. If you look it up, there was a girl named Sherry Sutcliffe. She was a project coordinator, which means she worked with these producers, and she was the one that would put the vocals and stuff together. So I worked with her a lot. She would call me for a lot of stuff. Her and her sister Jolie, I loved. They called me for a lot of stuff. Because remember what, you know, like you guys said, you know, when you have people that got talent and they're jerks,
yeah,
nobody wants to work with them. We would always have fun. And Sherry one time gave me one of the nicest compliments. She said, you know how to just diffuse a situation. Because I'm like, I'm gonna have fun. I mean, I come to have fun. And all this stuff comes across on your recordings too. You know. So anyway, she called me for Bruce Willis. He was doing the Honeymooners. Remember that show? I'm not Honeymooners.
Yes.
Moonlighting.
Yes,
That's right. Moonlighting.
Yes.
Yeah. So he was, after that, he did this Bruno, The Return of Bruno, something like that. He did 2 albums, and I sang background on both of them. But Sherry called me for a lot of stuff. So one day she calls me, she says, Phillip, you want to do the Country Music Awards? I said, what, and get home? She said, you so crazy. She says, no, I'm serious. I said, okay, yeah, who? She said, it's Willie Nelson and what's her name? Leanne Womack. They did a song called Mendocino County Line. And I'm like, you sure? She's like, yeah, Phillip. I said, okay, yeah, I'd love to. So I did the Country Music Awards. It was me and Fred White, and I forgot who the other person was. Yeah. So I got to work with Willie Nelson. Had a lot of, met him. I've done more outside of Switch than I have with Switch. So I've sang with country artists, jazz artists, pop artists, some rock artists.
Being that you work with Tommy and Bobby, how was it working with L?
Let me tell you, all of the DeBarges, super talented. I mean, when we would do music, it was so phenomenal. That's why, I mean, Switch was such a unique group. Like when we did, They'll Never Be, Bobby had the arrangements for that. And we're doing our little harmonies and stuff. And that was so nice. But, Jermaine and Greg, they wrote I Want to Be Closer. And I remember Jermaine had this little a cappella, that little, da, 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 da. And he was like, man, Jermaine was like, man, I hear some harmonies there. And I said, man, have Eddie. And he looked at me because Eddie was so unassuming. I said, man, Eddie is classically trained. I said, Eddie put those 4-part harmonies on it. So when we did that, it was great. And same with Phil when he did that, dance with me, come on, dance with me, baby. We did that too. I didn't sing on that record, but when he did the Tonight Show, it's funny, Elle didn't call me. It was Harvey Mason, the drummer. Anyway, they called me to see if I could do the show because I worked a lot with them. But yeah, me and Elle, we've done stuff. Because Elle on My Friend in the Sky, Elle is playing the keyboards on My Friend in the Sky. Elle was, Elle is phenomenal. It was years ago. It was Switch, SOS, and it was Elle, SOS, and Switch. And so we were in Chicago, kind of like the same type of venue, similar to the one we did in St. Louis, kind of like an amphitheater. And so, Switch, we had already done our songs, our hits and stuff. But then Elle, he went out, he opened up with Rhythm of the Night. And so we're just, out in the audience. So he calls us up. He's like, got to have my boys, because he does They'll Never Be and I'll Call Your Name in the show. Almost like a tribute to Bobby. But so he called us up on I'll Call Your Name. But I thought it was interesting, he had Akili, who replaced Bobby, sing the first part. And I sing the background when I Call Your Name, but he had me sing the second verse, and then he came in. And the audience went nuts because, I don't sing like Bobby, I sing like Phillip, and we just, we just made it work. And that was the last time we actually did something together. It was great working with them. It was just sad that, they struggled with other things, kind of like, not want to change any lyrics and stuff, that type of stuff. It was like, but talent-wise,
I know.
Man, we had so much fun together. I mean, Bobby and I wrote You're the One for Me, which opens up our second album. Because we were in a band house. It was me, Bobby, Tommy, and Greg. Because Jody at the time was married, and Eddie was with another girl before, his wife now. And it was called the band house. We rehearsed, and so one day I was sitting on the piano and I came up with this little melody, just playing, and then Bobby heard it, said, "Oh man, I like that," and just he did start putting, and it was so nice because we just had this, we'd wake up and start doing stuff. So that part was great, especially back then, 18, 19 years old. I think Bobby was 20, me and Tommy was the same age, and you're jamming, and you're coming up with all this stuff. Greg and Bobby with I Call Your Name, all that stuff just happening, so that was exciting. But again, like you said, did they change after the first album? No. After the second album, yeah. Then it's like, oh, I'm the reason. The reason what? We got our deal before Bobby was. Remember, I told you, Arnie Haynes. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm like, come on, man.
Phillip, I got one for you.
Go ahead.
Elton John.
Elton John. Worked with him twice. One was singing background on a song called Medicine Man. I don't even know whatever happened to that song. I got to work with him, but I also did a benefit. I got to sing background. It was this huge benefit in Las Vegas that it was for Andre Agassi. And what happened was Dorian Holley was doing it with Daryl Fennessy, and David Foster was the MD. But Dorian Holley is he's on the Tonight Show. He used to be like the vocal coach on American Idol, but I actually aided him into the business that's a whole nother story. But anyway, he called me to see if I could sub for him. And so Elton John was one of the artists on that show, along with Don Henley. And so we were singing background with all of them. But yeah, no, Elton was great, you know, because, you know, we're doing his hits. But there was a song he did called Medicine Man. Again, I don't know what happened to it, but I sang background on that. See, I forgot that, honestly, I forgot that I worked with Elton John.
we helping your memory.
No, seriously, you are. You know what? Let me write down Donnie and Donnie and no, seriously, I forget, man, because it's been so much. It's not like, because you know, I wasn't like when this stuff was happening. Alex Brown, you know, me and her sang a lot of stuff together. And she would always take pictures, and I'm like, I wish I had taken a lot of pictures. Most of the pictures I have is because of the pictures she took that I was a part of, you know, with different artists we worked with. But seriously, I forgot.
Like Johnny Mathis.
Oh, Johnny, yeah. That's not doing a lot of session singing. See, thank you, Johnny Mathis. I did 3 Johnny Mathis albums, and guy named Denny Deontay was the musical, the producer, and so he was calling me and, you know, doing a lot of background. And yeah, Johnny actually paid me a very nice compliment, you know, for my vocals. I'll share this that I rarely share, but he said, Philip, I got to tell you this. I'm talking about Johnny Mathis, one of the nicest compliments. He said, if I could ever change voices with anybody, it would be you. Whoa. I was like, wow, man. He said, no, I'm serious. I just love your voice. I said, well, ditto, man. I love yours.
If that's the case, you should do a remake of Chances Are.
Guess what? It's funny that you say that. See, it's funny. There was this guy named Scott Liggett. They needed some, you know what catalog work is? Like where the songs have gone from, you know, what's it called? Statute of limitations has gone by. Mm-hmm. So they needed those songs. Chances Are, 12th of Never. It was 4 songs, Johnny Mathis songs. And guess who they called to do it? Phillip Ingram. So I have a version of me actually singing Chances Are.
Really?
Yeah. But I didn't sing it like him. I just sang it like I would sing it.
That's how he wanted the song.
Yeah.
He said if he can change his voice.
Yeah, it was nice. But so yeah, it's funny you say that, but yeah.
Wow.
That was just for a catalog, you know. Yeah. So they could still reuse the song.
Yeah. Man,
see, y'all pulling out memories. It's like, oh yeah. Elton, wow. Donnie, dang.
I got another one for you. The late Donna Summer.
Oh yeah. That was a
disco diva queen. Oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Donna was great. See, I used to keep up a blog and I stopped. I just, you know, you get busy. And I would tell these stories, but with Donna and those that had died, I would put, you know, remembering Teena Marie. You know, I mean, remembering, I had a section in each section of my blog. But yeah, me and James and I think it was Phil Perry singing Finger on the Trigger. Oh. I got buddies that think that those are girls. Do you know that's one of the highest songs I've ever sung in my life?
Wow.
I mean, we up in the stratosphere. I had a buddy named Randy. We did a lot of sessions together, and he was doing that. He said, Philip, I know you sing on Finger on the Trigger. He said, yeah, that's me and James. He said, man, all this time I thought that was females. Oh. That's one of my highest songs. And Michael Paulo's version of That's the Way of the World.
Wow.
It's me, Daryl Finney, and Alex Brown. And when I walk in, Michael called me to do the backgrounds, and I called in Daryl Finney and Alex Brown. And so I walked in, I'm like, Michael, did you raise the key to this song? He said, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, I put it a step up. Like, are you kidding me? So if you listen to Michael Paulo's version of That's the Way of the World, me and Alex Brown and Daryl Finney, that's we up in the stratosphere on that one. And then Finger on the Trigger, me and James and Phil Perry. Now going back to Boz Scaggs, yes, we did a lot of we did that whole Heart of Mine album with Boz Scaggs. Mm-hmm. And That was me, James, and Phil Perry on that as well. That heart of mine, oh, heart of mine. Which, incidentally enough, that song was written by Bobby Caldwell. So it was nice. You had Bobby Caldwell that wrote it, Boz Scaggs, and then you had me and James, my brother, and Phil Perry singing background on it. So, matter of fact, when the song came out, it was the first time I would hear on the radio that they would mention the background singers by name on the record. They said, "Did you know singing background is James Ingram, Phillip Ingram, and Phil Perry?" Because all of us were artists. So I was like, "Oh, that's nice."
It's interesting you say that because I talk to Phil every now and then.
Yeah, that's right. He's from St. Louis.
Yeah, East St. Louis. Yeah,
East St. Louis.
East St. Louis. You're right. You're right.
But
We've done tons of stuff together. I mean, commercials and movies and records. We did a lot together. I mean, it was me, him, and James. He calls me and James his brothers. I mean, that's how close we all were.
But I got another name for you, Miss Anita Baker.
Oh yeah, No One in the World.
That's the song.
That's the song.
Here's what happened with that. Guy named Kenny Hirsch and Marty Sharon. I used to do a lot of song demos as well. You singing the demo.
Right.
So I sang the demo for No One in the World. And so Kenny was co-producing that with Marty. And so they asked me, could I put a background session together? So it was me, Phil Perry. It was me and Daryl Fennessy and Lynn Davis. And that No One in the World. We did all the backgrounds and stuff. But yeah, I did the background arrangements on that. So that was I forgot what year that was. 87 maybe?
86.
Yeah.
See, maybe. I forgot about Anita Baker.
That was 86. No.
86.
Let's see, was that on the Rapture album?
That was the Rapture album.
That's 86.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we did that. Yeah, that was great. That's the only time I worked with her though. And it was just that one song, because like I said, it was through it was more so through Kenny Hirsch and Marty Sharon rather than her people. But I did, I got to do the background arrangements on that. So y'all know about the movies. I was the wedding singer at my best friend's wedding. Come on, girl.
Didn't know that one.
That's what I'm saying.
Only one I knew about was the
singing. I say a little prayer for you. I'm on camera. You can see me.
Really?
Watch my best friend's wedding. Watch the ending.
Because I never saw the movie.
Oh, you never saw the movie?
Oh, I know you was the singing frog though.
Yep. Stay just a little bit longer, baby. You got it. That's it. So I bet you guys didn't know this. Remember Just Call My Name by Allison Williams?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you know I co-wrote that? See? See? Guess who's doing all the backgrounds?
You.
Come on.
Man, I'm loving it.
That's what I'm saying. It's so many sides. Some people just know Phillip Ingram of Switch. No, there's a lot to. That's why I said none of that defines me. So I co-wrote Just Call My Name.
You really don't have to work anymore if you don't want to.
No, I mean I do want to though.
Exercise.
No, it's fun, but it's always been fun. So you know what I mean. And honestly, I'm gonna be on the serious side. I'm sure that's part of why I've continued to work over the years, because I have fun, and it's like I go when we have a session, and when people have a good experience, when I used to teach the students, I would tell them that. You know what I mean? People want you back. Matter of fact, I used to talk about the difference in being confident and cocky. And if you want longevity, you got to have your confidence. But you think cocky is going to keep you around forever? Why am I going to be mad at you guys if you didn't buy our records? I don't care how much talent I have. I wouldn't be anybody. So I would always I would always take the time with the fans. I never got mean to them because I'm like, honey, y'all the ones, y'all bought my record. And it's like, yeah, I mean, no, seriously. And then we're still Henry Ingram and Alistair's sons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they were laughing. So I said, no. She said they kept you grounded. Absolutely.
And you kept yourself grounded.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I was Phillip Ingram before I did any of this other stuff. And I'm going to be Phillip Ingram after this stuff, so. And then But if I got tired, I would say, okay, look, I love y'all, but I'm gonna go to sleep.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And
The website is www.phillipingram.org, O-R-G. And you'll see a lot of stuff there. That the clip from my best friend's wedding should be on there. If not, it may be on my YouTube channel, which is the Phillip Ingram channel. Real simple.
mhm.
And I, on the YouTube channel, I have stuff in playlists, like, you know, guest vocals, background vocals, because I did a lot of guest vocals with different artists. And then I have the musician side, the songwriting. And then my Facebook page is facebook.com/Phillip.Ingram. So those are probably the three main places. But yeah, the YouTube, I mean, my website, phillipingram.org, you know, people, when they become a fan, when I do stuff, I mean, whether it's myself, Switch, Sheena, or, you know, I put it out and it sends it out to everybody. Well, it was great meeting you both.
Yes.
You as well.
Definitely, man.
We come back to St. Louis, we'll be in touch before then.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're a real
Thank
dude,
you.
man. We see why you've been in the business so long and done so much work. It shows.
Like Tamika said,
what,
looking like I'm still did on the album. Well, honey, I'm 62, be 63 in July. So I don't know what happened, because now you're getting all this Chicago. That means it's time to go.
I'm hearing that too.
It's time to go. That's what that means. That's the alarm clock.
For real, that was Philip's stomach growling.
Yeah, right.
He hungry. We gotta let him go. He gotta eat.
I'm hangry. I'm hangry at this
You're
point.
angry.
Yeah.
Feed me. Feed me.
All right. Well, nice meeting you, Tamika. Nice meeting you, DJ Wiz. I'm in touch.
Okay.
Yes,
Phillip.
sir.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
All right.
Thank you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.